Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Fully Managed podcast. Thank you, Sam, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so today, as usual, we're going to start with a game. I think I did pretty good. I think with this game title because it kind of incorporates Gray Dot as well as what you do. Okay, so this is called Gray Area or Golden Rule.
Oh,
So
okay.
what I am going to give you is like a bunch of kind of what should I say, like phrases that you either think are golden rule, like it's timeless, it's reliable, like it's a reliable principle that you still use today, and then gray area would be like that could be debatable or like it's a
Mhm.
situational concept or not always true. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so the first one is keyword density still matters.
Oh, gray area. And honestly, Codswallop.
Perfect. Okay.
That's what I'm going to call it.
You could also provide like a short explanation if you'd like as well.
Okay, cool.
And then SEO and UX should be planned together from day one.
Golden rule.
I agree. Okay. Domain authority is everything.
Ooh, gray area for sure. It's so many different elements, brand reputation, how users perceive you, what are you doing, how are you engaging, how are your audience is engaging. Yeah, it's way more than just any single metric.
Yeah, and I also know I've talked to so many agencies on this podcast, and so many of them I know are successful and doing well, and their like websites aren't the things that's really driving traffic. So it's not necessarily something that's always important to every person. Obviously, it's always like important in some way, but it might not be
Yeah.
like the
It's
best.
not the end all be all. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, you need to post content every day to stay relevant.
Oh, just lies and slander. It's not even gray. It's just not true.
No, I 100% agree. There is one of our founders has not posted on LinkedIn in like years, and like we still think it has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, and I think it's more important post when you have something of substance to actually
Mhm.
say, right? I mean, and sure, there are plenty of people who are posting all the time, and maybe what they're posting is kind of fluffy and it works for them, and that's great. But I think in the long run, it's really about, are you adding anything unique to the conversation? Because what AI has added is that everybody can
Can be a
regurgitate
part.
100,000 facts. So the uniqueness is really the important part.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that more and more often since ChatGPT and whatever program we're using to make LinkedIn posts now, I'm seeing an influx of people posting every day, and I can spot it from a mile away when it's not actually something that they created themselves. um,
100%.
and authenticity is really important too. I would say most people, especially with all the noise in the marketing world,
Yeah.
so it's kind of you want to be original like in some way. I do believe that in the art of stealing and whatnot, that not everyone can even really be original at this point in time, but
Sure. Like how do like if you're a mold remediator, how do you be original about that? Right. Like there's some service lines out there where obviously that's going to be way harder. Um, but yeah, as far as the content that you're posting, what are you saying? I agree with you. Authenticity, that's what users want. That's why user generated content in UGC and Reddit is popping off like it has been, because people just want those experiences. We're all at home, but we still want to have the really true experiences with other people and interactions. And it's just kind of hard to figure out how do you do that at scale sometimes.
yeah, and even with like I understand maybe using like an AI tool to post your content, not necessarily like using it to create the content, but like there's ways in which AI can be incorporated in your work effectively and make your workload much easier, but at the same
For
time,
sure.
like for creating content, I don't think it's always the best tool, especially the more common that happens, I think the more people will even be searching for authenticity because they're going to want to see something that stands out from what may become more AI than not in the content world.
That's exactly right. And I think if you've seen Wally, honestly, it's kind of like how that the more automation turns people all into kind of the same clone of each other. That's what's happening with content now, is that the more AI is used, the more kind of narrow content is becoming, um, because all those biases are just getting redoubled over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I agree with you that the unique, the authentic, the hot takes, if you will, that's where we're going to see people gravitate toward.
Yeah, exactly. And even like through the world of like creating clickbait titles or like different things like that, I think AI is very can also be very gimmicky in a way of like
Oh,
when you're like
super.
make this something that people will want to click on or whatever it may be, and that also isn't really helping with I think long term that's not really going to work out for you because you're not focusing on what's really important, and that's like providing something of value.
I agree.
Okay, so I'll give you two more because we're already on a good conversation for the game. Okay. Um every company should invest in technical SEO first.
Ooh, very gray.
Mm, why do you
That
think
really
that?
depends on what are you trying to do? What kind of digital presence do you already have? I do think the need for technical SEO is only going to increase. And in fact, it's what we're already seeing in response to the chat GPTs and perplexities of the world. But there's also been plenty of times where clients come to us and they say, we want to understand our landscape, we want to understand what's going on. And we go through the whole process and figure out, okay, frankly, you could spend this amount in SEO over the next year, but you're actually going to get more bang for your buck if you're doing Reddit marketing or you're
Mhm.
doing digital PR. Like it kind of hurts my soul because I love SEO, but there are times where SEO is not the right answer, and it just
Yeah.
depends on the stage of your business and what you're trying to do
No, I
and what
understand.
kind of funding you have.
Yes, yes, very much so that too as well. It's like the that guerrilla marketing of it. Sometimes that just works best for certain businesses. And even it's kind of similar to what we were talking about before about like domain authority. Is like sometimes some things matter better for your specific business or niche or whatever it may be, and you just have to figure out what that is. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be this one size fits all for what's best for getting traffic for your business. It's something that can be coordinated based off of what actually works best and not what you see maybe for like other people.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because, like, for example, Coca-Cola has a super high domain authority, and
Duh.
obviously they're the advertising kings of the world and have been for a very long time. But even as someone who drinks a lot of Coke products, I can't remember the last time I was on their website. I
I
don't
don't think I've
interact with
ever
their
been on their
digital
website.
properties that way. They had that little game for a little while that I think everybody was playing, and like the My Coke rewards and whatever. But like they have that domain authority, but it's not really doing anything for them. So like if you are wanting to compete with Coca-Cola, I'm going to be honest, it's probably not your website that's going to do it.
Yeah, no,
Right? So
100%.
domain authority is not everything.
Exactly. And
Also, if
even
you're trying to compete with Coke, God bless.
you're crazy. I mean, like maybe Olipop, they're trying. I don't know if they're really
Yes,
trying to compete with Coke specifically though, but definitely
that's fair.
soda in general.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. I also think in a lot of scenarios, especially now with kind of this transitional period between like what is actually like that whole debacle, which I'm sure you've heard, that like SEO is dead or whatever. But I think that, and I'm sure you have opinions on this too, that it's just transitioning into what like is important for search traffic as it does kind of often, rather than, but I think it's more like transformative now in the way that it's doing it, of like original content and valuable
Mm.
content matters more than anything now, where I think before a lot of people were quote unquote like tricking the system, so to speak, to get better traffic or even better domain authority with like link building and different things like that,
Hmm.
and prioritizing that and like the amount of content being posted rather than what's valuable. And um, I think with domain authority specifically, like things like websites like HubSpot, where there was like a dip in their traffic, or what was, I think it was their domain authority, I can't distinctly remember, like a couple months ago, and they
Yeah.
were what you were looking for to teach you how to have the best of the best. And I think that that's such an interesting case study of that. It doesn't always, it's not always the same either. Like you constantly have to keep up on what's best for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, so it's funny you bring up the HubSpot story because honestly, yeah, they saw a huge dip in traffic, but not in the overall business bottom line. And so it just,
Doesn't always
I would
matter.
say, so people have been saying SEO is dead, I think, since like 2016, um, which it's at this point, as someone who's been doing this for a long time, it's just funny. It makes me laugh. It used to give me panic, and now I've learned. Honestly, SEO isn't even changing that much, so much as the perspectives about it from leadership and executive teams is changing. And there's a lot of conversations I'm having with my clients about, are we measuring the right things? So the HubSpot story, if all they cared about was traffic, then yes, that looked like a huge fail. But no, they cared about signups. They cared about people signing up for some of their products or trying them out. That ultimately, I can't remember exactly. I think they actually published like they saw an increase on that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I say, it's just been a lot more conversations about, are we measuring the right metrics? Are we looking at the right things? Are we going towards the right North Stars? But then the tactics or the things that we do from day to day honestly hasn't changed that much. There's just some places where, like you were saying earlier, we've gotten a little bit faster because AI or machine learning can speed up the process a bit. But most of the ideation, any of the curation, that's still having to go through. Well, I would recommend that it still goes through expert teams.
Is how you do your work, has it been affected by AI at all, in a like in a way that you do your process, or is it very similar still?
Um, so I would say really it's just been able to support other, like, okay. So I am a former developer, and so I've dug into data science and some of the machine learning really I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now. So the use of AI has enabled us to say, hey, these are the scripts I've built before. Now I can give it to the team and they can actually go through the process instead of it always having to be me or another developer. So I would say that's where we've really seen it speed up. Um, and then honestly, yeah, my team hasn't been impacted a ton, but we also usually work with embedded marketing teams at enterprise companies.
Mm.
So for my clients, they're using it a lot more. And then we're really like their guardrails, their consultants of, hey, is this a good idea? Hey, I put this together. Can you vet it? Is this valid? We do a lot of that kind of work.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of like you're more often like navigating maybe another business's structure and incorporating what you're doing, rather than like, that makes sense that it wouldn't change
Yeah.
as much either.
Yeah.
Um Speaking of that, is there anything involved in SEO that you think is much more important than a lot of people maybe in the same industry don't believe is important?
Ooh, good questions. A few things. So first, I think is the focus of so SEO product management as a service and a discipline. So with that, it's all about how do you communicate with your engineering teams, with your design teams, so that you can get work done. Because what we know, if you're familiar, ERA does a state of SEO report every year. And I
Mhm.
think for like the last 4 years, it's always been the number one problem impacting technical SEOs is actually getting their fixes implemented.
Hmm.
And so it's really the art form of how do you work with those other teams? Because as SEOs, we rely on those other teams to actually get the work done. And they also rely on us, which I think sometimes what I see is maybe SEOs aren't as good at communicating the value to someone who's not an SEO or
Mm.
communicating the need. So, really, that form of how do you educate about SEO while making friends and getting the work done, I think is something that doesn't get as much focus as it should. And then I'm a little biased. I think JavaScript SEO, people should care a lot more about it than they do. But like I say, I am biased because I love JavaScript SEO. It is a majority of the work that we do at Grey Dot, especially now with the fact that yes, Google can understand JavaScript, but these LLM bots cannot.
Mm.
So kind of understanding what's going on under the hood of your site, because of JavaScript and rendering. And then on the flip side, we do know that LLM bots can understand code. So we've seen cases where like there's JSON or there's just scripts that show up on a web page that aren't necessarily visible to the user that Google ignores. So it's never really popped onto your radar, but ChatGPT doesn't. So like, thankfully, I've not seen it with any of our clients, but I have seen cases where like developers would put really interesting and inappropriate messages in the code. And suddenly that's getting linked to the brand, and the brand's like, how did this happen? Yeah. Or like, what was it? Uber had their entire like internal project naming system leaked because of stuff like this. So like, yeah. Which I
Wow.
mean, it was just the names of projects, so it wasn't overly bad, but it still was like a that should not have happened.
Yeah, that's something that I also like. I've talked to a lot of people that do marketing and or SEO for healthcare companies, and that would be something that I'd be really worried about, like any kind of
Any
information
PII.
for, because that's like not HIPAA compliant.
Yep. Yeah, that
Oof.
would be a big concern for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, the anything that's in the text, like JSON and things like that, it might not be executed yet, which JSON doesn't need execution anyways. But like there could just be comments in the code that again, Google has historically ignored that now all of a sudden, I think most people don't realize, oh, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, they're actually seeing this content and weighing it. We don't know to what degree, right? We have no idea how they weigh the different ranking factors, but it's being included, and so that can be alarming for some brands for
Yeah,
sure.
I can understand that that would be alarming. I mean, like at that point, you mean like I mean, you should probably your developer should probably understand not to do something like that. But at the same time, if if it was never on your radar before, then you never really saw anything of concern. But
Yes.
it's good to transition knowing that. Well, on the
Hmm.
flip side of like, what do you think something is very important about SEO that people don't recognize? What's something that you think is maybe like outdated that people still think is important?
Email outreach for backlinking. Why won't it just die?
I wanted to die so badly. The amount of emails that I get, I can't imagine how many our founders get, because I like my email is relatively newer. I've only been here for almost 2 years, so I
Yeah,
people are just discovering my emails, and the amount that I get is
it's atrocious. And also, like at this point, it doesn't work. It's super time consuming. It's really hard, and it doesn't actually move the needle like it used to. It just doesn't. True digital PR is the way to go on that. Um, Other things, really just the number of acronyms that SEOs want to own. Like, calm it down. We don't need AEO and GEO and I even saw one post the other day of someone like they had listed all the different iterations and they were trying to act like each one is its own discipline and defining them. And it was just like, I appreciate you're trying, boo, but I'm gonna
oh
say no.
yeah,
Um, and maybe I'm just an old curmudgeon and I'm just yelling at the kids to get off my lawn, but I'm like, why do we need a from SEO? We're doing the same stuff.
yeah. No,
It hasn't changed. So
strategies like that almost feel like hollow to me too, especially as someone who's like a big relationship builder, and like I genuinely care about the people I talk to. I hate getting an email trying to like, let's trade backlinks or let's pay you whatever amount of money to like,
yes.
we're not even worried about our domain authority, so we have no reason to want to even do it. But besides that, it's just like it doesn't feel like nice. Like it doesn't feel like a good way to introduce yourself to someone of like, here's what I want from you. I would rather just make good relationships. And if they want to write something about us and it's of value, then like, okay, cool, then we can do that too. But it doesn't have to be like, oh, let's embed this link into the blog that you already have or something like that. It's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't do much anymore either. It really like, I 100% agree with you for that. So, okay, so another, even to go further with this topic, because I just love hearing people's opinions on different reasons, especially SEO, which is such a highly debated strategic, like it's people have so many different strategies for it and will
Yes.
die on a hill over them, whether they can be proven or not. So I'm
Yeah.
always curious. So this is more marketing related. Like, one what is a lesson that marketers can borrow from like design to create some smarter strategies, maybe not SEO related?
Be willing to test more often.
Hmm.
So I see a lot of times, and I will say this is something too that like the I work with plenty of agencies where they've got this down pat. So this is not a it's true for everyone. It's just sometimes, and I do typically see it with more junior. Um, don't be afraid to test things. And also if you're not sure, like your gut is worth something. I'm not going to say that it isn't,
Mhm.
but the data to support it is always going to be key. And I think that's something that designers I've seen can do a really good job of saying, well, I don't know which treatment I want to use. I don't know which one's going to resonate better. And, sometimes it might be they use focus user testing. So it may not be like A B tests. Um, but yeah, don't be afraid to test and let the data tell the story. Um, because I think too often we'll do our research and think we know everything.
Mm.
But sometimes your audiences are going to surprise you, and audiences change, right? So yeah, just continue to have that mindset of testing and be willing to question everything. Like if it worked on one campaign, it may not work on another, and you have to be willing to question all of that. And so this whole idea of like I'm going to die on a hill for this. A, that sounds really stressful and like you're inviting a lot of worry into your life that maybe you don't need. And B, there's just going to be times where that audience interacts completely differently. And I think it's important to recognize that your audience is a living, breathing organism and it's something to be respected.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I do think that specifically with marketers, it's like you can have so much research to back something that you truly believe will work, and then it just doesn't. And it's not anyone's like specific fault or anything, but you really need to be able to like the common buzzword pivot and be able to move forward, because you can't be married to something. Like it just
Mm-mm.
is not going to be worthwhile for you. Like there can be like you said, there can be a campaign that worked out really well because you did it a specific way, and you want to replicate that, and it just doesn't work out the same way. And you need to be able to, yeah, like testing is something that's truly valuable in that way, because you can at least get a better idea rather than just, maybe some knowledge of like, oh, this has worked before, so it must work now. And that's at a detriment to you, I think, sometimes when you just wholeheartedly believe that something will work regardless of, changing climate, like, changing audiences. And some things work incredibly that you didn't know would work either. It's just kind of something that's unexpected that you don't always know.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting, ever evolving marketing world.
Where's that end dash? Yeah.
So, when you're solving problems, like a digital challenge, so to speak, how are you able to kind of make sure that you're looking at the bigger picture rather than like minute details of a problem? This is more like a general question, I suppose.
So for us, one of the ways we do it is we do partner with our clients to put together roadmaps of all the changes we want to do. And at the top of that roadmap is what are the KPIs, what are the measurements for success. right? And depending on the client, sometimes it's KPI, sometimes it's OKR, sometimes it's BHAGs, whatever it is. All of the acronyms. Uh, and so we just consistently go back to that of, is this going to help the bottom line? Is this going to help? Like, we know that for this client, our biggest problem is like the biggest thing we need to do is make sure all of our content is actually crawled and indexed. Because they've got, like, I am thinking about a particular client, but they've got 8 million URLs. So how do we make sure that Google is actually crawling and indexing all of these pages? So basically everything that we do from a technical perspective is aimed at that one problem of how
Mm.
do we make sure that we're supporting the crawlability and the indexability of these pages. Um, so yeah, I would say just it's all about setting up systems so that you're consistently reminding yourself of what that North Star is, because it's really easy to lose sight of.
Hmm.
And then also, I'm super lucky and I've surrounded myself with really brilliant people who have no problems being like, Sam, we need to pull up. You're getting in the weeds. Let's pull up. Um, so yeah, and I guess also just having an environment or a culture of being able to question each other and say, are we working on the right thing? Because yeah, it's very easy to fall down rabbit holes in SEO, which is one of the reasons I love it, but then also one of the reasons why sometimes it can be really stressful.
No, that makes complete sense. Is there any like do you ever run into an issue where like you think that maybe a client is focusing on the wrong goal and you kind of have to tell
Oh,
them that?
all the time. Again, I work with enterprise clients, so I'd say that's probably 30% of our conversations, is expectation setting, and I love them and they're fantastic. But it is kind of that resetting of expectations, because it's also pretty often that leadership will be like, we want to achieve this. And I have to be the one to come to the room and be like, I hear you. That was 2019 numbers. So no, you can't have them again. Um, right. So yes, there's a lot of times, like I say, we have enterprise brands who have been all about traffic. And so we're having to have those conversations about you've been measuring the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Um, so all that to say, yes, that's what we spend a lot of time doing.
How do those conversations kind of go? Like, how do you navigate that while also being sensitive to obviously, enterprise clients may be very set in like their ways or whatever they believe. How does that go?
So a lot of it just has to start with empathy. So also depending on who I'm talking to, if it is an enterprise client, recognizing that these people for the team, it's probably just a 9 to 5, right? Versus if I'm talking to a startup, I might be working directly with one of the founders. This is
Hmm.
their dream, this is their baby, right? Those are very different kinds of conversations and,
Yes.
and the empathy that needs to be approached with them. Um, so yeah, so I will say the first step is empathy. After that, it is also being willing to say the hard thing.
Hmm.
Um, and this is where I'm super fortunate that with most of our clients, we've already set that expectation. I've even got one client that calls me the strict auntie because I always come with the tough love advice, um, in a very loving way. Yeah. So really, if you're establishing that that's who you are, but also while you're doing it, you're making it clear that, all right, you're focused on this thing, but what about this larger, bigger goal? I'm trying to get you there. People tend to want to go with that and hear you. And then also, there comes a point, and you have to recognize when it's time to back down and accept that that's what's going to happen, right? That does
Yeah.
happen with enterprise all the time. I mean, we even had one time we were doing a migration and they were going to kick it off way too early, but then find out there's other things where it's going to cost them $500,000 if they delay. So it's like, all right, we're going to do this way too quickly. At that point, you have to reset the expectations of, hey, because we didn't get these things done, this is the pain that it's about to cause you. And it's
Hmm.
going to suck, but we have to accept it. So it is about that, taking that and resetting the expectations and just being brutally honest, not meanly, but just being transparent about this is what's going to happen. So we do a lot of like CYA, I guess, of here's the assumptions that we've made. If these assumptions are not followed, you will not get these results, right? So that kind of language. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it all goes typically.
Yeah, I think that having that kind of relationship too, with that transparency of setting realistic expectations, is showing how much you respect your client too. Like, I think that when you're not willing to tell them those things, it's kind of like, okay, maybe we're just looking for a paycheck. Because sometimes, like, those are uncomfortable conversations, but you want to set them up for success. And if you're just doing what they want, but they're missing the bigger picture, and you could do more for them, then why not at least say that? I mean, if they're not willing to do that or spend the money for it or whatever the problem may be, that's okay. I mean, like, you're still getting something done for them and you're doing what they're telling you to do or achieve. But I think that being able to have those conversations is it is just worthwhile. Like, it makes them trust you more. Like, it makes them like, be excited to work with you too if you have like bigger dreams than them, so to speak.
Yes. It's there's definitely been times where, we're going through the sales proposal process, and because we're not telling them what they want to hear, we don't win it. So there's definitely been those instances, but I have to say that what it has led to is that the clients I'm with, we have had those really honest conversations. And like that enterprise migration, if you look at the numbers, it did not go well, but
Mm,
those were things that were outside of our control. And so we mitigated the damage as much as we could. That now they've been a client for 3-4 years. They're continuing to re-up, and they trust us, and we're getting to do now some of the bigger things and more fun things that we want to do, um, because we didn't sugarcoat it, and we didn't lie about it, and we also didn't try to displace any blame.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's, yeah, people want to work with real people.
Yeah.
And just think about the relationships you have just in your personal life. Like, do you want to be with somebody who's always giving you fluff? Probably not.
Yeah.
That sounds
No.
awful.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want people that are going to be honest with me. I mean, like, that shows that they really care about you because they're willing to be honest with you. And I think that's the same thing about a client relationship is, and the people that turn away because maybe they don't want to hear the hard things to hear, or they don't value criticism. They might not be doing so well in the future if they go to a yes man, and that's like kind of just like a learning moment for them. Like, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily blame people. That everyone has to kind of learn over time too, especially if your business is earlier on, or if you're looking for like short-term goals. Like, everyone kind of learns, and if they don't, oh no. But and that's
Life will
just
teach you.
life. Yeah, exactly.
Life,
And
life, life is going to teach you.
that's okay. And I think you have a better relationship with the people that do understand what you're saying, and say, okay, like, let's try this because I'm going to for a reason.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, so to round out the podcast, because we're a little over time, but I love to be like
Whoops.
forward looking, kind of at the end. So what's something, or I guess this is past looking, but what's something that you've changed your mind about since starting your career? Like, something maybe very big or notable that you've changed your mind out since.
Ooh, I'm gonna call myself out real hard here,
No, that's
and
good. We
all the
love
ways
self-reflection.
that I was a fool in my 20s. Um, Saying I don't know, but I will find out is way more powerful and meaningful, and makes you look way more smart than trying to make up something on the spot.
Mm,
I think that's something young Sam was like, oh my gosh, if I say I don't know, what are they going to think? They're going to think I'm awful and I don't know anything. What's going to happen? No, in fact, it's the opposite. Saying I don't know, but I will get the answer for you is way more powerful. Um, and also significantly harder, but once you start, then it's really easy.
yeah, I think I really admire people that are willing to say that they're not knowledgeable enough on a topic. I mean, like, I understand trying to fit in and have a conversation with someone that maybe, like, you don't understand a field completely, but that's like when you ask questions. Like you don't
Mhm.
have to pretend that you know everything about anything because that's impossible. And I think that it's really nice and also respectful to like give the floor to someone that you're trying to learn from that knows more than you, or like maybe
Yeah.
or like, and I also think it sounds ignorant to comment on things you don't know about either, because
Oh, for sure. Hello,
why?
social media.
Exactly. And so I 100% agree with you. And I think that, goes back to what we've mentioned a couple times on the podcast is authenticity.
Yes, that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This is an absolute pleasure. I
Yeah, I had
had
a good
such a
time.
great time. And I just love delving into a topic specifically because everyone has different perspectives, and I love being able the opportunity to learn from so many people is a luxury in itself. So thank you so much for joining me
Same
today. I
here.
was able to learn very specific things from you that I might not be able to learn from someone else, and that's what this podcast is all about.
So, well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I had a great time. This was a really good conversation.
Thank you. I believe as well. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. We'd be nothing without you. So please check out other episodes to be able to learn like I get to every time. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.